that might be actually interesting to talk about that, because I literally talked about that like 2 days ago on the podcast, that I did not know, that kind of opened my eyes to El Salvador, because Nayib Bukele extended now his terms, and he can now like indefinitely be running and all those things. Where I'm like, oh shit, that's an interesting topic for Bitcoiners, because he's kind of like the Bitcoin guy for the nation state adoption, but then also like, oh, what's going on with his politics. And I don't know, I get more and more weary of this guy. I don't know if you've followed that news.
Yeah, what do you think, Fritz?
I'm not familiar with it.
You didn't see, like, it was all over Bitcoin Twitter. I know you've been super busy lately, but yeah, it there's a bunch of people talking about it, like, and immediately, like, the people that don't like Bukele came out as like, oh, see, he's a dictator, blah, but ages back, I asked Grok, I think, I was like, hey, just given what you know about this guy so far, what likelihood would you assign that this guy relinquishes power? He goes, probably 40%. I was just like, oh, damn, really? Like, and that's the robot, right? Like, the robot doesn't have a dog in the fight. It's just kind of like, I'm a robot, beep, boop, But then, sure enough, like, the Salvadoran Congress came out and was like, yeah, like, we can just reelect the president forever. And you go, oh, well, that's never happened in Central or South America before. So I wonder where that goes. Now, given like the history of the country and where it's been in like the global political economy and what influence the US has had down there, which was a very, very grotesque influence. I mean, they were like supporting torture gangs and like murder squads, and like, it was horrible, dude. And that was directly under like CIA dictates, right?
Yeah,
and
the
then
CIA was all over countries down there.
Yeah, well, it was El Salvador in particular, right? And so when all that dried up, then they came in and then they just stomped them into the dust with the IMF, right? And caused the Latin American debt crisis, which lasts for like a complete lost decade for the entire region. So right after that, then we started exporting gangsters to them and go, hey, we created this MS-13 thing. Here, you can have that back, So like, the United States has absolutely just bent that country over and just hollowed it out. While so when people kind of come in and criticize the guy, I'm like, well, how would you fix it, right? Like, do you just wait for the next US led guy or Chinese led guy or whatever, Zimbabwean backed guy, or who else are you going to let come in there and wreck your country again? Like, especially after you work so hard to get it fixed, or at least on the right path. So I don't know, man. Like, I mean, what would you do, Robin? Like, you're king of El Salvador for a day. Like, do you go, well, I'm just going to give up the reins because that's what all the people that destroyed my country want me to do? You go, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like, you guys can GFY, like you guys are talking to us about democratic norms and this and that and the other thing. Meanwhile, you guys came in here and gave us murder squads and MS-13 and you destroyed our country. So why should I trust what you say? Why should I care about any of the like rights of the people that were going around decapitating people and leaving it in Times Squares and stuff like that, and kidnapping people and raping and murdering and robbing? It's like, I don't know. So I'm sort of on the fence because I still have that libertarian, like, well, there should be free and open elections and yada, yada, yada. But I also understand power structures, and you go, well, that power structure is fragile and the peace they've created is fragile. And you certainly want to maintain order and peace is, and if that means we get, dictator Bukele for the next 20 or 30 years, you go, cool. I hope he stays benign, but you never know, right? So
it's an interesting one because like I see a lot of like I feel when you have extreme situation, you should have extreme you can act in a very different way, and leading El Salvador is very different to leading the US or like a European country, because like it's a whole different situation, especially if you have the murder capital of the world. You have to do a lot of different things, and the thing that he did with the prisons and early on, like I'm not following it very closely. I was just once in El Salvador. It is something where I think it's fine. Like you have to go in hard to actually filter out those things if you really want to fix it. But then also is the thing of like, what is is that still a Bitcoin country? If with the IMF deal and the Bitcoin adoption is not there where it really is sometimes advertised at. Like I was there outside of the Bitcoin venues, I could never really buy anything with Bitcoin. I really and this is always what I really want to say is like no matter what Bukele does, it doesn't take away from what Bitcoin Beach is doing and what Berlin is doing, because they're doing really great. What should I say? They're doing really great grassroots movement. At the same time, I'm just careful. Like I wouldn't move there right now. Like I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, like I'm fully like I would like to be there. But overall, the country got just way better. You know, like it's just like undeniably a better country right now. But I'm just like a little bit more careful about Nayib. Like I was a fan of him like a lot in like 2-3 years ago. Now I'm like, I don't know. And then because I don't know if I think Travis brought it up, the approval rates. It's always a little bit weird when I see really high approval rates, because when we think about who has high approval rates, usually dictators. There's usually this like high approval rates usually are connected with dictatorships. But he is popular. Like he is. I was in El Salvador. I talked with all the Uber drivers when I was there, and talked with the local store owners, and he actually is popular. Like his approval rates, I don't think are like skewed towards. It's just like I wouldn't use that argument, because like, it's usually the argument that dictators use.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Travis brought up a bunch of good points here, but Bitcoin Liberty Live says Bukele remains awesome.
I like him. I think there's many reasons to respect him and love him. I think so. Like, you know, when America won its independence and won the War of Independence, and George Washington served 2 terms and then set a precedent of like everybody was like stay, you know, 99% approval rating, and he stepped down, but he had good strong people to pass the reins to. And also he didn't have the CIA never sleeping at your doorstep, or the IMF trying to wrangle you, or gangs simmering. And basically the men at that time were men, and the women at that time were probably more manly than any man we have today. And so it's like culturally, it's like we were okay. Bukele, I think if you're grappling with so many issues, I can see all the incentives to be like, you know, we need to keep this fixed so that they don't just wait us out and plant their corporate guy. Right. So I'm trying not to judge it, but it could be a slippery slope.
There's also a good point from Travis, the buying Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin a day, where El Salvador Nayib Bukele had always this public address, and we always knew like that's probably not all the Bitcoin they have. That's just like one wallet they have. Like, why would they just give away all the Bitcoin they have? Right. And now the IMF, and I don't want to say we should trust the IMF at all, right. But the IMF came out and said like, hey, they are not buying Bitcoin. They're just moving from an unknown wallet to a known wallet, the Bitcoin, basically like making an appearance that they still buy, even though they apparently don't buy since February. And I think there came some financial minister or something from a higher up financial government official from El Salvador up and said, oh yeah, like we're not buying since February. So I don't know, maybe they're still buying and just not telling the IMF. Like maybe they says like, oh yeah, we're not buying, and but like still buying Bitcoin. Yeah. But anyways, the publicly known Bitcoin that they have still increase, so that's still a win for me. Like if they are from past buys or from current buys, like I don't know, I don't care. And in general, I'm not a fan of governments buying Bitcoin. I want individuals to buy Bitcoin and not governments.
Yeah. At least they're putting it in a pot where it's like, okay, well, here's our reserve. We're adding to our reserve. It came from other money or other Bitcoin or whatever, but hey, at least it's in the reserve pot.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, well, like what you guys are saying, I agree with. You know, like it's kind of hard to say, right? Like you look and you go, well, like the slippery slope thing, like that gets brought up a lot. Like, you know, as a criticism, you go, well, today he's the benevolent, dictator vibes like Travis says, and then tomorrow he's like, Pinochet or whatever. So you go, well, where does it go? And the thing is he's still human, right? I think. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's like an alien from El Salvador, Mars, or whatever. But the trouble with being in any sort of power position like that is you tend to start getting filtered for your information. And like I used to see it a lot in Hollywood, right? Like we'd get these actors who come in and stuff. And the thing is there's actually a comedian, some female comedian, I can't remember her name, but she ended up on a TV show, and she said it was kind of a trip because I went from someone who had to be polite in order to get by to someone that could just say what I thought, right? And she had enough power and influence that no one could check her. So the trouble with that is it's empowering to begin with. You go, hey, well, I don't like this, stop it, or I'm not doing that, go GFY or whatever. Like having that FU money is kind of nice, right? But it can also lead you down the path. I don't know if you guys remember that Charlie Sheen video where he was sitting there talking about like tiger blood and all this crazy. I mean, he sounded like an absolute lunatic.
Invincible.
But that's the problem with being embroiled in like this world where no one says no to you and everyone just kisses your ass because no one checks your stupid ideas, right? So you can end up like convincing yourself over a long enough time horizon where you just think like the gibberish that's coming out of your mouth makes sense to everybody, and everyone just goes, yeah, Charlie, tiger blood, And like there's a filmmaker, the guy that did Clerks, I can't remember his name. He did a music video for Prince, and Prince was like in the same boat, right? Like he said, like at one point, Prince like walked down at 4:00 in the morning, or he was like rolling cameras, and he said the camera's out of film. And all the assistants came over and said, like, just act like they're still running. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not shooting anything. He goes, yeah, we don't want to let Prince know that. You have to understand Prince has been living in Prince land for a long time, and he'll come down and say stuff like at 4:00 in the morning, like, I really want a polar bear. Give me a polar bear right now. And there's no way to convince him that that's not a great idea, nor is it feasible, nor they just want to, all he wants to hear is like, yeah, we'll get you your polar bear right away. Right. And then they just hope he drifts off to something else before they have to explain why the polar bear isn't there yet. But, so you can end up being kind of a lunatic. And I think there's a risk to Bukele on some level of he can get to a place where, because all this adulation and praise and people loving you and everything, like it can get to your head. Right. And before he's aware of it, he can get checked or not checked, and then he ends up being like a lunatic, So it's like that old saying, power corrupts, all power, absolute power corrupts absolutely, kind of thing. And so you kind of go, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, he's still human, and just who knows? He's great now, and in 10 years, it's like, oh, he's not leaving, or he's become whatever. Johnny knows from Hollywood too, I'm sure. Yeah. I think it's also a reminder, good advice for all of us Bitcoiners. In 10 years, we all better stay humble because we're susceptible to the tiger blood, right? We're going to be like, yep. Been a Bitcoiners since 2025.
Maybe.
So stay humble.
Yeah, exactly.
I wrote about that once. I don't think Bitcoiners will be celebrated. I think that early Bitcoiners will be looked like people will be like, oh yeah, you are just lucky. Like, why didn't you not buy from me? Like, why didn't you do more to convince me of that? Like, if Bitcoin is, let's say, in 2040 at 10 million, 50 million, whatever, and your whole family didn't buy except you, first of all, like, what did you do? Like, why did you you should try to convince them as good as possible, but sometimes it's not possible. I don't think they will cheer you on like a god. I think they will envy you. I think they will say that you're lucky and all those things. And I don't know. Sometimes and you see it now already with OG Bitcoiners. I've talked with many with the podcast, but also outside of the podcast, that have Bitcoin since over 10 years or are in Bitcoin since over 10 years. Yeah. They are no gods in real life.
Right. Yeah.
They're more likely to hide because they are afraid to, if someone comes up and just like asks them, oh, like, can you lend me some money? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I have some,
yeah.
I have an interesting idea. You want to invest? Like all
Right.
those things.
Constantly.
So I don't know if the Bitcoin is the same thing happens as the Hollywood
like
stars.
the celebrity. Yeah.
I saw an interesting tweet where, first for years and years and years, as you've been talking about it, you get excited and then you back off and you're talking to family, and it's just a majority of the response is kind of like, okay, honey, to, oh yeah, sure, this and that, or or like, you're still doing that. And you kind of go through all this for years and years. And a lot of it's polite, sometimes it's not. And that years from now, it like the best you might get out of people is like, well, you got lucky. When the whole time you're like, I was telling you, I was open, I was happy to share it with you, and you fudded me the whole time.
Hey, what's up, Travis?
There's
Hola. Hello, hello.
Have you met Robin yet?
Portland?
I've heard of Robin.
Oh yeah,
There he is, Robin, Travis West, Robin.
Oh
He
man,
gets-
my mic is muted. Sorry. Hi, Travis. How you doing?
I'm good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Travis joined us up in Portland. It was fun, man. It was really cool.
Travis,
Bought
yeah.
some margaritas. Used some dirty fiat to buy him some margaritas. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
How'd you feel about your talk?
It was fun. It went by really fast. We had
Yeah.
good questions, good engagement, a lot of people. So that's good to see.
Yeah.
I thought people were interested, and what's telling is, when people stay afterwards and there's like, if there's no questions and people are like, polite clap, it's like, well, okay. But there were a lot of questions and a good range of questions. I thought it was good. A lot of interest.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think of this Bukele thing, man? Like, chime in, dude.
You've been to El Salvador.
Yeah. You're friends with Bukele, right?
Yeah, I didn't get to meet Bukele, but I mean, he seems cool, right? He seems based. He's my age, so he's accomplished a little bit more than me. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, like Alex Gladstein. I don't know how he pronounces
I don't know how to
Gladstein.
pronounce that either.
to HRF. He's skeptical, right? So, and Alex seems like a smart guy. So I don't know. I'm open-minded. We'll see.
On the topic of Alex Gladstein, just as an aside, a huge thank you to Mr. Gladstein. He retweeted a microseed post today, so it was a huge blessing. I'm a huge fan of the guy. I subscribe to the Human Rights Foundation newsletter, and I love the work they do. And he's obviously, I think he's a very brilliant thinker. So, but yeah, just thank you in general. I know he's probably not going to see this, but that was a kind of a nice boost for the old microseed. So
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And we're all about helping human rights, man.
Yeah.
Hide that
What I like
Bitcoin.
about him with Alex, it's definitely, when you think of based, it's not just based like certain principles. It's empathetic human rights, like, how are people in Africa coming out of their situation? How are people, like we talked about, South America, across the world? They are all just hugely burdened by their governmental fiat garbage and socioeconomic condition and poverty, or whatever. And just so, like, he'll share these videos and have these talks about small miners at a water source in Africa where they can spin on the side, and to them, even if they just join a pool and they get a little bit, to them that's a lot.
Huge. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I don't know, man. Well, I think Bukele, I don't know, I'll give him 60% to not become an evil dictator, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah, like I always, because I had some even German friends that moved down there in the last couple of years, and I was always, because people said like, "Oh, you're a Bitcoin podcaster, you have to move to El Salvador," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. Like if I have to move there, and I want to see that project going long term. Like we have seen now." What 4 or 5 years of Nayib Bukele and Bitcoin, and if it's really true and if it holds long term, like 10, 15, 20 years, and the country is just going up and up and up and everything is just crashing, like it's just great, yeah, maybe I move there. but not yet. Like that, it's just I don't want to move up in a startup government where I don't know for sure if the leader is a dictator or not. Like if that's a question that's debatable, I don't want to be there. I mean, you can see the same thing about the EU, but that's a whole nother topic.
Right.
My wife sent me a link to a house for sale right near the beach. It was like decent, not a modest house, but you'd look at it and think, well, yeah, we could live there. And it was like $200,000, I think. And I was like, damn, a house near the beach. And I looked at it. It's like getting there. Like, so for example, if you flew in, it's a couple hour drive to the border near Guatemala, I think. And yes, it's near the beach. It's in a nice little town. But then it was like, okay, she was kind of like, what would you think? I mean, just sort of imagine. And I'm like, in another world, up and coming in my life, I could live there, but I know that if my wife is stranded, an hour drive or 2 hour drive away from where's the closest, farmer's market, Walmart thing, I guess. I don't know. She doesn't handle the rural life the same. I don't think so. It would be rural.
I haven't seen Travis's talk. What did he talk about in Portland? Like, what was kind of the topic there?
I talked about security tips every Bitcoiner should know.
I love it.
Yeah, expand on that, man. Come on.
And it was basic information. Like OG Bitcoiners probably they probably heard everything that I mentioned, right? But a lot of times you might be an OG Bitcoiner, but you just don't practice like good security, even though you're well aware of it. And I do that too, in a sense, with like firearm ownership. Like I know that I should probably have my firearms locked away so my kids can't get into it. But at the same time, I have weapons all around me. So it's like, you accept some risk, even if you're aware of it. And, but yeah, it was good stuff. I heard you guys talking about Austria earlier. I'm assuming you're from Austria. Right?
I'm from Austria.
Yeah, he's the chief Austrian.
I was there once. I was in Salzburg, a young handsome man, and a long time ago, and I was sitting along a river on a bench, just minding my own business, and it was beautiful space, beautiful country, very clean. I really liked it. And this old little Austrian lady comes walking over to me, and she sits next to me on the bench, and she's probably 150 years old. I don't know. She's been there for a while, and we're just staring at the river together, and then she looks over at me and she says in German about how isn't the river so beautiful. And I said, yeah. And then I wait a little bit. And then I look at her and I say, in rough German, I said, my German's not very good. And then she looked so disappointed. And then without any other words, she just got up and left. That's my memory of Austria. Because I look like I was local, right?
Yeah.
But once I spoke, she's just like,
you foreigner.
God damn America.
It could have been a very romantic story.